As I release this video, we are days away from Apple rolling out iOS 26 to the public. It hasn't been made official just yet, but if Apple follow the pattern that they follow every year, it will go live on Monday, the 15th of September. It's a major update, the biggest redesign of iOS in more than a decade, and I've been using it for a few months now, and I think it's a really, really good update. So now is the perfect time to get your iPhone ready for iOS 26. In this video, I'm going to make the process as easy as possible and walk you through every step that I think you should take. Okay, let's get into it. The first thing to check is whether your iPhone is actually able to run iOS 26. If you bought a new iPhone in the last few years, you'll be fine. But if you've been hanging on to an older model or picked up a secondhand one, it is worth making sure. The cutoff this year is the iPhone 11 range. So if you've got an iPhone 11, 11 Pro or 11 Pro Max or anything newer, including the second generation iPhone SE or later, you're good to go. But if you're still using an iPhone 10, 10s, 10R or anything older, sadly, iOS 26 won't be available. That doesn't mean that your iPhone suddenly becomes unsafe. Apple will continue to release security updates for those older models, but if you've been waiting for an excuse to upgrade, this might be it. And just in case you're not quite sure which iPhone you own, here's the quick way to check. Open Settings, go to General, then About. And under Model Name, you'll see the exact iPhone that you're using. Takes less than 10 seconds and it clears up any doubt. You don't have to jump straight to the about to be released iPhone 17 line if that feels like too much. There are some great deals on slightly older models. The iPhone 15 series in particular strikes a really good balance between performance and price right now and will probably get even cheaper when Apple releases the iPhone 17. So step one is simple. Make sure that your iPhone is on the list. If it is, you're ready for the next part. The next thing to do is make sure that your iPhone is backed up. This one is really important. Most updates install just fine, but with more than 1 billion iPhones out there, a few will always hit problems. Having a fresh backup means that you can recover quickly if something does go wrong. If you use iCloud, chances are your iPhone's already backing up automatically, but it is worth checking. Go into Settings, tap your name at the top, then iCloud, and look for iCloud Backup. You should see this iPhone with the time of the last backup. On my demo phone, it sometimes goes a few days because it isn't switched on every single day. On my main iPhone, it backs up overnight while it's charging, so it usually says backed up within the last 24 hours, which is exactly what you want to see before a big update. If you tap into iCloud Backup, you'll see a list of backups for your devices. Tap this iPhone to check the date and size of the most recent one. And if you'd like a fresh copy, just hit Backup Now. Do it on Wi-Fi and ideally while plugged into power so it doesn't get interrupted. If you'd prefer a local backup, you can do this on a Mac. Connect your iPhone with a cable, open Finder and look for it in the sidebar. If it isn't there, go to Finder in the menu bar, then Settings, Sidebar, and tick CDs, DVDs, and iOS devices. Once your iPhone appears, click it, stay on the General tab, and in the Backup section, hit Backup Now. That will create a copy of everything on your iPhone on your Mac. Either option works. The important thing is not to skip it. A fresh backup now can save you a lot of stress later on. By the way, do you ever find yourself watching tips and tricks videos like this and thinking, how am I supposed to remember all of this? If that sounds like you, you should definitely check out iPhone Essentials Plus. It's my dedicated training portal for the iPhone. More than 150 lessons with more content on the way. It's broken down into modules, with each one covering a different part of your iPhone. Inside each module, you'll find lessons, and every lesson comes with a short video showing you exactly what to do, a step-by-step guide with screenshots, and a downloadable PDF. So no matter how you like to learn, you're covered. You can go through everything at your own pace, or just use the search tool to jump straight to the thing that you're trying to figure out. There are no ads, no sponsors, just content. And it's all available for a single price, no ongoing subscription. That one-time purchase also includes all future updates, including the all-important iOS 26 update, which is already being rolled out. And if you've got a Mac, I've recently launched Mac Essentials Plus as well. It works exactly the same way, just for your Mac instead. You can buy either one on its own, or you can bundle the two together for the best possible price. If that sounds good to you, scan the QR code that you can see on screen, or check the link in the description or the pinned comment. The next step is a bit of housekeeping. I usually explain it like this. If you were redecorating your house with new paint, new floors, new furniture, the first thing you do is clear out the old clutter. It's exactly the same with your iPhone. Most of us don't set aside time to tidy up our devices, and just before a big update is the perfect moment. Head into Settings, then General, then iPhone Storage. Right at the top, you'll see how much storage you're using and how much is free. Underneath, Apple will give you some recommendations, things like offloading unused apps or turning on messages in iCloud, and it is well worth enabling the ones that fit your setup. Scroll further down and you'll see a list of all your apps. You can sort this list by size, name, or date last used. Sorting by last used is really handy because it shows you the apps that you haven't opened in months, maybe even years, and those are usually good to delete. When you tap on an app, you'll get two choices. Offload app removes the app itself, but keeps your data, so if you reinstall it later, you can pick up right where you left off. Delete app removes everything and frees up more space. Photos is another big one. Go to Settings, then Apps, then Photos, and switch on iCloud Photos with Optimize iPhone Storage. That way, the full resolution versions are kept in the cloud, and your phone only stores lightweight previews, pulling down the full version whenever you need it. If you don't want to use iCloud, your only options are to delete older photos and videos or move them onto an external drive. Messages can eat up a lot of space too. In Settings, go to Apps, then go to Messages, scroll down to Message History, and choose whether to keep them forever, 1 year, or just 30 days. If you send and receive a lot, setting auto delete can free up gigabytes of space. And finally, don't forget streaming apps like Netflix, Disney Plus, or YouTube Premium. These often have old downloads sitting in the background from when you save something to watch offline. Open the apps and clear out anything that you don't need anymore. The aim here is twofold. First, clearing out the clutter gives your iPhone the best chance of running smoothly on iOS 26. And second, you need enough space for the update itself. Apple's files are usually between 5 and 10 gigabytes. So as a rule of thumb, make sure that you've got at least that much space. The next step is to update your apps and check that the ones that you rely on are ready for iOS 26. Most developers know how important it is to be prepared on day one, and Apple gives them loads of time. The new versions of iOS are announced in June, and developers get access straight away. That means that they've had around 3 months to test, make updates, and push new versions ahead of the public release. So in most cases, the apps that you use every day should already be good to go. But it's still worth double checking, especially for the ones that really matter. Things like your banking app, any work tools, or maybe the apps that you use to control your smart home. You can check the release notes in the App Store or head to the developer's website to see if they've confirmed iOS 26 support. If there's an issue, most developers will say, and sometimes they'll even recommend that you wait to update until a patch is ready. For most people, this won't be a problem at all, but it only takes one key app not working properly to cause you a lot of frustration. So it is worth spending a few minutes on this step before you hit update. By the way, if you're enjoying the content here, you should definitely check out the Proper Weekly. It's my free weekly newsletter that lands in your inbox every Friday, packed with tech news from the week, content that I've been enjoying, and a handy tip for the Apple ecosystem. Just scan the QR code on screen to sign up or follow the link in the description. The next thing to do is check your passwords, just to make sure that you've got the logins that you need for the apps and sites that you use most. The reason is simple. Big iOS updates can sometimes log you out. And if it's something that you haven't signed into for years, it can be a real headache trying to reset everything on the spot. A little bit of prep now can save a lot of hassle later. If you use a third-party password manager like 1Password or LastPass, you're already sorted. Just give that app a quick check. But I'll focus on Apple's own built-in passwords app because it's excellent and it's on every iPhone. When you open it, there are 2 things worth doing. First, tap on Security. This section shows you any weak spots, passwords that have been caught in a data breach, or ones that you've reused across multiple sites. If anything pops up here, update those logins straight away. Second, tap into All and scroll through your saved logins. Check that the accounts that you use most are listed. If you spot anything missing, just press the plus button in the bottom right, add the website, username, and password, and it will be saved. That way, even if the update logs you out of a few apps, you can get right back in without any stress. While we're on the subject of passwords, there is one more that's absolutely crucial, and that's your Apple ID. After updating to iOS 26, there is a good chance that you might be asked to sign back into iCloud, and without your Apple ID password, you won't get past that screen. If you don't know it, or you've forgotten it, now is a good time to reset it. Go into Settings, tap your name at the top, then choose Sign In and Security. In the Security section, tap Change Password. Confirm with your device passcode, and you'll be able to set a new Apple ID password. It is much better to do this ahead of time. Thanks to recent security changes, things like password resets can take a little while to process fully. So if you think that you might need to reset, don't leave it until the day of the update. Get it done now and save yourself the stress. This next tip is one of the easiest, but it really does help. Restart your iPhone. Most of us hardly ever do this anymore because iPhones are so reliable and just keep running, but giving it a restart every now and then is a good habit, and right before a big update, it's especially useful. Restarting clears the RAM, shuts down background app, resets some of your network settings, and gives you a clean slate to work from. So when you run the iOS 26 installer, you're doing it on a fresh system, which helps reduce the chances of anything going wrong. I would recommend that you do this on the day that you plan to update. If your iPhone has Face ID, which most models do, just press and hold the side button and the volume up button together until the power slider appears. Slide it across, wait for about 30 seconds, then hold the side button again to turn it back on. And if your phone ever becomes unresponsive, there is also a force restart. On an iPhone 11 or newer, press volume up, then volume down, then press and hold the side button until the Apple logo shows. That skips the normal shutdown process and forces a reboot. This next one is more about the moment that you actually plan to update, but it is still worth planning ahead. Make sure that you're on a strong and reliable internet connection. The update file can be several gigabytes, and while your iPhone will usually resume if the download gets interrupted, ideally you want it to go straight through without any hiccups. So stick to a good Wi-Fi connection at home, at work, somewhere that you know is solid, rather than risking it on a patchy network. It is also worth thinking about when you update. Even though most people don't rush to install new versions of iOS, there are still millions who do, and the moment Apple flips the switch, everyone jumps on it at once. Updates usually go live around 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. here in the UK, and that first wave can put Apple's servers under a lot of strain. Apple systems are better at handling it these days, but you'll still often find it smoother if you wait 12 to 24 hours or simply set your iPhone to install overnight. That way, you avoid the rush, and the whole process is much less likely to get stuck halfway through. This next tip is another one for the moment that you actually update. Make sure your phone is fully charged. Apple says that you need at least 50% battery to install an update, and they recommend plugging it into power while it runs. I would go a step further. About an hour before you plan to update, just plug your phone in and charge it all the way to 100%. That way, you're not just scraping the minimum, you're removing the risk of your phone shutting down mid-update. One of the most common reasons that updates fail is because the device runs out of power during the download or install. A full battery and a charging cable plugged in is the best insurance against that. There's one other thing to keep in mind, and it is nothing that you can prepare for, just something to be aware of. After a big update, your iPhone's battery might feel like it's taken a hit. That's completely normal. What's happening is indexing. Once the new system is installed, your iPhone needs to work through all your files and apps to make sure that everything is compatible. It is a processor-heavy job, and while it runs in the background, you'll sometimes notice the phone getting warm, draining faster, or feeling a bit sluggish. Don't worry, it usually settles down within a day or two. Once the indexing is finished, your battery life and performance should return to normal. The final tip is just for anyone who's been running one of the iOS 26 betas, whether that's the developer beta or the public beta, and that is to think about switching back to the official release. The betas this year have been really solid, but at the end of the day, they're still betas. If you're on the developer version especially, you'll keep getting new builds months ahead of everyone else. And with that comes the usual risk of bugs, crashes, or weird behavior. You do get the features early, but you're also running software that isn't finished. If the only reason you installed the beta was to try iOS 26 before launch, now that the public release is out, you can get the same features in a much more stable form. To switch back, open Settings, go to General, then Software Update. Tap into Beta Updates and set it to Off. This doesn't remove the current beta straight away, but the next time that a public release comes out, your iPhone will update to that instead of another beta build. It is really down to preference, but if you'd rather be on the stable track from here on out, this is the way to do it. Okay, I know I said that was the final tip, but here is a bonus 11th tip. Think about whether you actually want to update on day one or whether it might be better to wait. Apple runs a long beta program for a reason. Developers have about 3 months to test their apps, and the public beta has been out for about a month. By launch day, Apple is usually confident that the new system is ready for everyone. That said, with more than 1 billion iPhone users worldwide, there are always a few who run into problems straight away. And with iOS 26 being the biggest redesign in over a decade, there is a higher chance of bugs or quirks slipping through. So if you rely heavily on your iPhone, or if you use apps that sometimes lag behind with updates, there's no harm in holding off. Even waiting a week gives you a much clearer picture of how things are going in the real world. Rolling back an iOS update is always a lot harder than just holding off in the first place. If you want to wait, go into Settings, then General, then Software Update. Tap Automatic Updates and turn it off. That way you're in control of when iOS 26 goes onto your phone. And when you are ready to update, I would switch Automatic Updates back on. It's a really handy feature to keep your iPhone secure and up to date most of the time. For me, I've had a really good experience with the iOS 26 betas, so I'll be updating all of my devices on day one. But if you'd rather be cautious, now you know how to do it. So there you go, that was 10 tips plus a bonus tip to get you and your device ready for iOS 26, which, as I release this video, is only a few days away. By the time you're watching, it might even be available already. If you've been using iOS 26, whether that's the beta or the public release, what do you think? How have you been getting on with it? Is this the update we've all been waiting for, or is this something that you were hoping to see that's still missing? Drop me a comment and let me know. And remember, I'll be covering all of Apple's major operating systems in a lot of detail here on the channel, so keep an eye out for that content. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.